Okay, let me just get in the zone. Hey guys, welcome back. So I just had to do a quick, actually let's hold off on filming right now because I've got an issue, and then I'm back in and I'm like, oh no, we're back. And then we had to go back and forth for a hot minute and now we're good. So let's get stuck into this week's update. We had quite a few events this week in our, I guess, personal lives. We had one 5-year-old's birthday party. That is our daughter Olivia. We had the grandparents in town and lots of, I guess, events and eating out and just kind of spending some time with the family. So I think I always still have a little bit of like apprehension about what might happen in these situations, because historically for me there's probably a lot of stress associated and perhaps some negative memories of not necessarily like the events that took place. It's more about how I internalize a lot of that extra stress and pressure, and then what that's led to, you know, in past experiences. So I really tried to kind of go into this new week with a really open mind and try not to preempt anything, you know, otherwise that can lead to, you know, feelings of anxiety or stress that might not even be there. So, you know, something that I think I am really good at is not letting, let's say for example, like fear hold me back from, you know, taking action on doing something, or if, you know, this goal that I have, you know, there's a good chance that I might not be able to do it, but, you know, you have to commit to it anyway. So I tried to look at this kind of with that lens, rather than going into the week thinking, oh, this is going to be really hard. Oh my God, I can't do this. You know, I'm going to have anxiety. I was like, well, you can do all this other stuff fine. So, all right, let's use that same approach to how we go into this new week. So it actually turned out just fine. One of the things I think that I have had to do is a lot of inner soul searching in the last few months. I'm going to say it's probably really the last year or so. It just feels like it's continuous soul searching. You know, what do you want in your life? What do you want to get out of your life? And if so, once you've decided all these things, okay, you have to start taking some actionable steps to get there. And for me, I think I really had to start putting up some more definitive like boundaries and saying no in situations that I might not really have the means or time to do, but I feel obligated. And you know, if I look at all of those things that I kind of commit myself to, it's so unrealistic that I end up getting really upset at myself. I let people down, and it's just not a good way to be. Yeah, this week I really kind of had a good think about what can I actually do this week, what's realistic, how much can I fit in. I know you want to do all the things, but you know, let's go down that and actually tick off what makes sense. So I kind of got rid of a lot of the fluff this week and stopped kind of overloading myself, and surprise, surprise, it actually went a whole lot better. And I know I felt significantly less stressed and my anxiety probably got to, you know, maybe a 7 out of 10 on a couple of like, you know, moments or things that I was doing, but it was for the most part pretty good. Nutrition, on the other hand, that was, I think as we go and take a look at carbon today and my tracking, I don't really know what I tracked. It was very much, okay, what are your priorities this week? I've got these, you know, new work things that I'm kind of processing and organizing. And then I have, you know, the family are here. That's the reality. We do have the kids and we have, you know, some big events. So I had to really just prioritize. And my nutrition this week was one of those things that was kind of swinging to the left of the pendulum for this week. And in past videos and even some of my social media posts, I've really talked about, you know, what is balance? How can you achieve a balanced lifestyle? And I really don't think that, you know, anything is ever like static on that. I call it a pendulum because I do think everything kind of constantly shifts and moves around, and learning to kind of be okay with having this area of your life over here, perhaps not where it normally is, but it's shifted for a temporary period of time to accommodate something else. So for me this week, I was trying to think about this from my eating disordered point of view. So what would I usually do, or what would the old Holly do in the situation? And I think I was very, you know, rigid on my, you know, ability to let it go. I always had that, you know, you've got to prioritize, this is your number one, your body image, you have to be this certain way, diet, tracking, blah, 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 that's always, you know, at the top of the list. I was like, you know what, nah, like that doesn't feel good anymore. I don't want to be like that. And whatever happens this week, even if I put on 5 kilos, let's say, okay, it's a temporary change. Nothing is permanent, and you can always, you know, go about things, you know, next week and the week after and get yourself back on track. Like, you know, it's a little bit more, that mindset to me feels better. It kind of sits better with my principles and my morals. So this week, I don't think I tracked on Sunday at all, which is the first time in a while. Obviously, as a competitor, that's not really something that you can do, to be honest, especially when you're trying to get to that level of conditioning at a pro level, you know, fitness model. So it's been a while since I haven't tracked, and it felt really good. I think I just really enjoyed, you know, those few, or I think it was a whole afternoon and a following day. I think it was Saturday afternoon and Sunday I didn't track. And it was really nice to kind of feel like a connection with the people that I was with. It was really nice to kind of sit down and just enjoy their company and not be thinking about the nutrition value of the foods that I was eating. And something else that I did as well, and again, just trying to embrace the non-competitor lifestyle, or the really rigid and extreme approach, which is what was needed the weeks leading up to my show. I really wanted to kind of just eat what everyone else was eating. So I thought about, you know, stopping and getting a couple of like fat-free or low-fat options to better kind of, you know, be more compliant with my macro targets. I was like, you know what, I never do that. I never do this. Like, what's one day? So I got some work stuff done for the most part on Sunday morning and into the early afternoon. Once I kind of wrapped that up, I was like, okay, all right, well, I guess we'll go and be normal. And we had this gorgeous big platter. We sat up on the rooftop, had some wine and like all the cheeses, like 6 or 7 different types of cheese, and some meats and some like fig jams and honey and nuts and like just all the good stuff. And I was like, you know what, try a bit of everything, like go for it. Eat until you're full and satisfied, and that, you know, be done with it. So it was really nice. If I had to guess, and you know, it's nice to kind of think back and go, oh, what was I realistically eating? I probably had like 3 maybe 4,000 calories on that one day, because they were all the full fat options, and they're not very low calorie. Let's be real, a 1 ounce serving of cheese usually has like 9 grams of fat. We're looking at very calorically dense foods. So even though I didn't eat like a huge volume of that food, it was definitely very dense. So, you know, when I kind of got up the next day, I can see I look a little bit different. Sure, like you just ate a lot more, like you would expect that. What was really interesting about that particular moment was, I think as somebody that has recovered from disordered eating, there's always this little voice that will just come back and try and test you. It's like it never actually goes away. It's something that you carry with you, and I'm kind of like, bring it on. Like, I got you, I've got this. So it was like, you know, going, Holly, you probably should just diet for a couple of days. Like, just cut your calories, just go back into the setting on carbon, just diet for a week, you know, you'll be fine. I was like, no, like, no, I don't want to do that. So despite that voice saying you should probably diet this week because you've probably put on a kilo or 2, I was like, no, I'm going to keep my calories right where they are. So interestingly, this week, I also still know that I have had to mark, I'm close to my menstrual cycle. So when we go and have a look at the app, you'll see my check-in. I think I had to mark, yes, I am close, because I've been getting all the symptoms, and I don't know truly when I'm going to get it, but I can tell just the increased bloating and just feeling like so emotional. Like, it's like emotional roller coaster. Like, I'll be happy and talking, and the next minute I'm bawling my eyes out. I can't tell you how many times I have cried in the last 7 days. Like, I went to church for the first time ever, to be honest. I grew up without having a religious upbringing, and I kind of, I was in there, I was like, oh, I'll be fine. This is gonna be, you know, let's see what comes of this. And I just walked out, I was like bawling the entire time. I'm like, oh my God. Like, oh, this is just, it's just such a bizarre feeling. So I think there was a lot of emotions kind of happening for me in the last few weeks. But anyway, that's another story. But regardless, I stuck to my guns and I checked in, and the coach has given me the same macro targets again for this coming week, and I've just gotten back on track. I'm not trying to restrict. You know, the first thing, again, that little voice when I kind of woke up on Monday morning was like, oh, why don't you just not hit your targets today, Holly? Like, just maybe make up for some of the calories that you ate on Sunday. And I was like, nah. So just had my targets, and you know, within a few days, probably a week, let's be real, like I will get back to, I guess, where I was feeling comfortable. Part of that difficulty, I think, is just the physical discomfort that can sometimes come when we are starting to reintroduce calories. I can't tell you the number of women that I have worked with over the years that have gone through this reverse diet process. Where we're reintroducing calories, you know, we're over time very gradually taking up dietary fiber, and they'll say to me, they get to this point and it might not even be like high calories. So, you know, to give you an example of what we would consider normal versus what's high, most of my clients, I'm trying to get their calorie intake probably somewhere above 40 to 45 calories per kilogram of lean body mass. So, you know, obviously depending on what your muscularity is, you know, you may have higher intake than somebody that's a little bit lighter. So that would be considered high. And again, we have a really awesome table outlined in the reverse dieting guide that kind of shows you what that normal range looks like for not only different levels of muscularity or lean body mass, but also for people that have different levels of activity, because obviously someone that does 7 hours of training a day has significantly more requirement than someone that does no training. So that table in that book, the reverse dieting guide, spells that out. This point in the reverse where a lot of people start to feel like, oh, you know, I think I'm getting really full and uncomfortable. Oh, I don't feel good anymore. I feel so, just yuck. Part of this process is just learning to kind of reacclimate to that stretch factor that happens to our stomach. So we're now putting more food in it. It's gonna stretch a little bit more. You know, as our food is being digested, we're gonna have a little bit more abdominal distension permanently because there's more in there. So I think a lot of us tend to get really kind of caught up or hung up on that physical feeling of fullness. So I think it's really important to kind of just sit with that for a bit and try not to, you know, place any judgments on how you feel in those, could be weeks, because truly it can take a little bit of time to readjust. And then also play around with your meal timing and your food volumes. Those things can make a significant difference. I know a lot of folks, especially those that have perhaps a history of chronic dieting and restricting calories, maybe they had a significant amount of fiber in their diets. And now as they kind of venture back up the calorie ladder, they're trying to fulfill those caloric requirements with very low calorie food. So lots of dietary fiber, things that are very filling. And I have seen so many times, you know, women, you know, under 2,000 calories, they're eating like 60 grams of fiber because they are really trying to avoid some of those more traditionally, I guess, frowned upon bad foods, which we know there's no such thing. So I've kind of had to say, hey, well, how about we try to, you know, make some compromises here. Let's bring that fiber down. Let's get you back to a place where you aren't feeling so physically full to give you, you know, a better experience. And maybe that will be all it took, because it's so difficult if you are in constant pain to feel good. Like whether it's you slashed your arm, you fell off your bike or something, like you don't feel good when you're hurt or you're hurting. And it's no different, I think, when we think about how our digestive system feels. So rather than immediately going, I need a diet because I don't feel good, like sit with that, or, you know, play around with those variables that I mentioned to see if you can feel physically better. Yeah, that's kind of what happened for me this week. I'm gonna go in and we'll have a look at my actual data. Okay, so opening up carbon, we'll go have a look at the me section. All right, so from Monday through to Sunday, my average carbohydrate intake, and this is again excluding Sunday, which I didn't log, so I don't know, 182 grams. So it was a little bit more balanced, I guess, throughout the course of the week. 239, 265, 222. I had a day earlier in the week with 167. Saturday I stopped tracking by the time we got to the birthday. So clearly that was, you can see there, that's what happens when you're distracted with children. It's like, I don't have time for that. So that didn't happen. But you know, my targets were 212. So we're I'm just kind of oscillating around that area. Like it feels good, it feels fine. Let's have a look at my protein intake. Now I'm sure that's probably high. Oh no, it's not that bad. Okay, well, let's exclude Sunday because I didn't log anything. And if I use the previous Sunday as a more accurate reflection of what I ate, my average probably comes out to somewhere around 150, 157. So that's actually good. It's only 5 grams kind of above or 7 grams above what my targets have been. And I usually aim for that 145 to 150 on average per day. So you can see there, I nailed that most days. Saturday I stopped tracking, but I know that I definitely hit my protein on Saturday. That's just what I like to eat. Sunday, I ate so much deli meats that I know for a fact, just in that one sitting, I definitely hit my protein. I definitely lumped that all together. I certainly had like one bolus of protein. It was probably 150 grams. So anyway, that's protein. Fats, that comes out to, let's see, 59 grams, which is again kind of right on my target. But again, there's no Sunday in there. Friday, we went for dinner, 103. Definitely ate all the good things on Friday. So that was quite high. We'll go and have a look at my average calorie intake for the week, with the exception. So it comes out to about 1809. So I've definitely reined it back in quite a bit since the previous week. I don't think that I've had the same appetite as the past week, but part of that's probably because I've put on a little bit of body fat since the show, and I'm definitely feeling better. My performance in the gym this week was really good. I felt great. I had 2 awesome sessions, and I was just, that's perfect for me. Like, I felt so good at this place. So if I can kind of just hang out here, like, that'll be great. And I think if there are photo shoots and things that I might have to do, you know, it doesn't really mean I've got to do a whole lot of work to lean down if it's something that's fitness related. But I also feel really good and comfortable in my own skin too when I'm just doing my thing. So overall, I'd say it's been a pretty good week. Okay, so going to have a look at my check-in. I actually have already done this because I am a little bit behind with our long weekend yesterday. So my weight, I think Monday morning was 66.8, so that's like 1.5 kilos more than last week, but it was very inflated. So it says here, let's reevaluate next week. It appears your weight may have been affected by your menstrual cycle, so we don't know your true weight. Please continue to hit your macro targets and we'll evaluate your weight once it normalizes. So here we go. I'm just gonna have another week hanging out on the same targets. And no doubt by the end of the week, I'll be back where I was. So really trying not to, I guess, let some of those old thought processes and that mindset of, you know, needing to be so focused on my body take over or kick in. I'm just, you know, thinking about what I really enjoy. And like, after having such a wonderful weekend and some really great conversations, meaningful relationships, just happy stuff, I was like, this is what's important to me, you know? So, and everyone will be different. Everyone has their goals, what's important to them, completely different to what might be important to me. So I know for my happiness, it extends far beyond the physical appearance. Sure, that can be great, and there's certainly many benefits of having, you know, a healthy body weight outside of, you know, the aesthetics, you know, thinking about reducing the risk of chronic disease. From a mental health perspective, we know there's significant benefits to exercise on conditions like depression and other mental health conditions. So I really value my mental health, and for me, I think I'm really starting to find, you know, what works best. So guys, thank you so much for joining me and listening in. If you have any questions or if you've got any comments or feelings about what I've talked about today, because I'm sure many of these, I guess, topics might be relevant to some of you, please share those thoughts with me. I'm often on YouTube reading all of your comments and responding when I can. I think for me, it's really great to know that something that has happened for me is relatable to you guys, and, you know, I can help you kind of overcome some of the challenges that you might be experiencing as you go through your own reverse diet. So please leave me a comment. If you aren't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please go and subscribe, and I will see you next time.